Friends. Today is Friday, October 7th, and I am back for my stitching update. It's been 2 weeks since my last one, so I hope you guys have all been doing well. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. My name is Olivia, and this is Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. This is a video podcast slash vlog where I talk about my cross stitching as well as my quilting. However, if quilting is not something you're interested in seeing or hearing, I show it a little bit later on in the video, and I let you know in plenty of time that they will be making their appearance so that way you can go on to the next Flosstube video. And if you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. So how have you guys all been? Hope you've had a great 2 weeks since we last sat down to chat. I do want to say a great big thank you to everybody who watched my previous video. I can't tell you how much it means to me that so many of you guys come back every 2 weeks to see what I am up to. You guys always leave the best comments, and I really, really thank you so very much. It means the world to me. So the last 2 weeks did not go as I kind of planned. I wanted to get some framing done, but the husband got sick, and then he had a head cold, and then I ended up getting his head cold. So definitely not as much progress. I feel like this time of the year, I always feel the need to like get as many seasonal decorations done, just because I really love this time of the year, and I have so many great ideas and so many things waiting for me to get to and to work on. And there's always like this need to just make constantly, and that did not happen. So I'm hoping that maybe over the weekend I will rest, and then next week maybe I can start working on some of those plans that I had for earlier in these 2 weeks. So over the past 2 weeks, I did catch a new to me Flosstube. They have been around for a little while. And a lot of times what I do is when I find new Flosstubers, I will queue them up. And while I am out hooking up a quilt to quilt, or when I am sewing or stitching in the evening, and I'm able to watch, I will just go into my queue and start watching the first one that pops up. So I was able to watch 2 needles pulling threads, and it is 2 friends, Kathy and Missy. And I really enjoyed watching their videos. I watched their first 3, and I believe there are 17 videos so far. So I still have a little ways to go, but I enjoyed the time that I spent with them, and they are definitely a Flosstube video that I think that you guys will really enjoy. So I will put a link to their Flosstube channel down below. But again, it is 2 needles pulling thread. I also got a lot of questions in my last video about the quilt that is hanging up behind me. And in my last video, I did talk about it during the quilting portion of the video. And I know a lot of times cross stitchers are not interested in that part of the video, and that's why it's sort of put at the end, and I'm kind of careful about not talking about quilting during the cross stitching part. But I feel like a lot of stitchers were very interested in the quilt. So whenever a new quilt gets hung up, I do talk about it in that quilting segment. And it's usually after the giveaway part of the video. So if you're not interested in the giveaway, but you are curious about the quilt, just fast forward to that quilting part, because I will talk about it. And I did in my last video, I talked about it quite a bit. But I will very briefly talk about it. It is called Hocus Pocusville by Crabapple Hill Studio. It is still available on her website, and there will be a link down in the description box to that website. It is done with all Civil War reproduction fabrics, except for a very few. I found some like 1950s style fabrics that were Halloween-ish, and I threw them in with it. They just played very well together. The quilt is stitched on muslin that I purchased from Joann's, and I stitched it with DMC 310. But I do want to say thank you for all of the wonderful comments you guys left. I mean, it's one of my very, very favorite quilts, prized possessions. I absolutely love it. The other question I got was, can I show a close-up of the projects that I show in my video? And I do that as well at the very end of the video in those, I guess, credits. that is where I show them, where you can see the close-ups. It'll have the pattern, and then it also has the cross-stitch piece or the finish. So if you're not interested in giveaways or the quilting, you can just fast forward right to the end where I say goodbye, and then it'll start showing photos of all of the projects that I've showed in the video. All right, so I had to pause the video because Freddie decided to bark, and I don't know if you can hear it, but he's growling right now, and I just decided to go ahead and film the video because he has been sort of barking, growling for like 5 minutes, and I have no idea what he heard. He couldn't have seen anything because I have the curtains drawn, so I don't know. Ghosts again. The next question I got was, how many hours a day do I stitch? So I typically spend about 2 hours in the evening. I stitch in bed. So the husband and I will watch, whatever is recorded on the DVR, or we'll binge watch something somewhere. And I usually stitch from 9 to 11. So typically, on average, I will get about 2 hours a night, occasionally maybe like an hour and a half, just kind of depending on what's going on, but typically about 2 hours in the evening. I also do stitch in the morning for a half an hour, and I have a morning project that I will work on, just something small that I can work on. It's just a really good way to start my day. Had a lot of you guys wonder if I spend all day stitching, and I don't. Once in a blue moon I will, if there's nothing going on, or I just don't, like on the weekends, if I'm doing laundry and I don't really feel like working on anything except stitching, then I might, but that doesn't happen very often. So typically about 2 hours. I do have a lap stand that I use. It is a Elon lap stand by Artisan Designs. And I did teach myself to stitch two-handed. So I don't know if maybe that's helped me pick up speed. Sometimes I don't feel like I stitch very fast. But typically about 2 hours is what I stitch each day. And then do I ever think about picking up hand embroidery again? Because I did, again, talk about this quilt in my last video. I did hand embroidery before I went back to cross stitching. Right now, I don't really have any desire to work on it. I was sort of getting burnt out because I have done a ton of hand embroidered projects, all different seasons. I gave some of it away, but I had done that for many, many years, and I was starting to get burnt out on it when I just happened to go on Instagram, and one of the people I was following posted a cross stitch piece that she was working on, and I was like, what is this? And then I just sort of followed a hashtag and just found my way back to cross stitching, and that's really all I've been wanting to do. Just piecing quilts and doing cross stitch. That could change. I still have a few patterns that I've kept and that I would like to do at some point, but for right now, I don't really have any desire to do it. But again, it can change because I did enjoy doing it when I worked on it. It was a lot of fun. But I felt like I had just kind of done everything I was interested in doing. And what I did have, I didn't have an interest in, working on it. So cross stitching just kind of came in at the right time. And again, it can change, but right now I'm just really, really enjoying doing cross stitch. And the last question I got is about the trench bowl that is right here. And a lot of you guys wondered where I purchased the trench bowl. I got it from Hobby Lobby back in 2019. I bought it in the spring decor section, so it was already 50% off, and I think I got it for like $11. It was a sort of grayish white, kind of that farmhouse gray white that is, that you see. It's kind of like whitewash a little bit, but it's more gray. That's the color it was when I purchased it, but it didn't really fit in with any of my decor. It kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. So I painted it with my antiquing wax. So it's sort of like a brownish, rusty, crusty color that I love. And now it fits in perfectly. When I was at Hobby Lobby yesterday, I did see that they still had some. I think they change it out, even though it doesn't, the color of it's a little bit different, but it's basically the same. It's basically the same. And then they have a lot of other ones too. And I was looking at a few of those and drooling. So I think I'm going to go ahead and jump in and start talking about what I have been working on over the past 2 weeks. It hasn't been much. I think in my last video, I was kind of thinking about being monogamous with Midnight Watch, and I did indeed decide to just work exclusively on that. However, I will be returning to my rotation starting tomorrow, and I have 2 brand new starts that I will be working on. But for my morning stitch on Monday, I started Olde Tom Turkey. It is an early workings chart by Tina Woltman. And I don't believe that you can purchase these anywhere yet. However, you might be able to find them on the secondary market. This particular chart was gifted to me from Dora. And I love Tina Woltman's patterns. So I'm really hoping that she will start selling them again. So I'm stitching this on a piece of 28 count mystery linen from my stash. I have no idea what the name of it was. For whatever reason, I didn't write it down. I started to get better about that. Whenever I cut off a piece of linen, I will make sure to attach a label saying what it is, but I didn't with this one. I'm stitching it with the called for DMC, and I am stitching it 2/2. My plans when I get this finished is to frame it, and I will antique it a little bit with my antiquing spray from Primitive Gatherings. And so hopefully in my next video, I'll have this totally finished, because all I have to do is finish his name. He's got a little bit of a tail, and then there's a year down here. And I think originally it has you finish it as a little pillow, but I need some framed finishes for around my house when November rolls around, because I do decorate for Thanksgiving. So I think this will be perfect to frame and then just tuck away. I have a shelf across the room that I think it'll look so cute on. So I will continue working on that one. I don't know that I will work on it over the weekend, because I don't typically do a morning stitch on Saturday and Sunday. I might, because I do have to get up early with Ethan, because he goes and works at Bauman's for the harvest fair. So I might. It's been, he's been really enjoying working over at Bauman's, and I wish that it lasted longer than just, you know, the month of October, but it's really good experience for him, and he's already said that when it ends, he's going to go try to find another seasonal job. And then Allison did start work at, she works for the, I think it's the ticket office for the theater department at Western Oregon, and so she started that this past week, and she really enjoyed it as well. So I'm so very happy that they both found jobs that they are really enjoying. If I forgot, I'm stitching Olde Tom Turkey DMC Threads 2/2. I can't remember if I said that. I feel like I did, but I can't remember. When I finish Olde Tom Turkey, I am going to stitch this. So I've had this one in my stash for a couple of years, and I've really been wanting to stitch it, and I decided that when I'm done, I will start working on this as my morning stitch, and I'm just going to pull threads from stash. It gives you 2 options for the over one down here. You can either stitch it as is, or there's an alternate version where it's got it like a crossed here. It says bittersweet, and I will do the optional version, because there's no way in the morning that I could wrap my brain around doing 1/1. So I did have 2 finishes. In my last video, I was almost done with this. I just had a little bit left to go. It comes out of the Ooh La La book by Blackbird Designs. And again, I should have had this marked. It's called A Little Bit French Pinroll. And that is what it looks like. And this is the book it comes out of. I stitched it on a piece of 36 count Picture This Plus Heritage with Weeks Dye Works Baked Apple. And I stitched it 1/2. So I didn't get a chance to finish this into the little pinroll. It's really tiny when it's finished. I can't wait. But I really do love how it turned out. Down here, there was a different name charted, and I decided at the last minute to put mine, so I just kind of squished it in, not realizing that my two initials are giant. So I really had to do some work in there to get everything to fit and not just look really like all one big blob. But I love how it turned out, and this is a piece that when I do get it done, it'll go in the trench bowl, and it'll be one that I can just kind of cycle in and out of different holidays, because it'll be perfect for Christmas, for winter, for spring, and summer. So I love it. So I'm hopeful, I'm hoping, maybe. I'm not gonna like hold myself to it because I have a lot of finishing to do over these next 2 weeks, but I would like to get that fully finished before Christmas, because I don't have a whole lot of Christmas smalls yet, and you know, that's something that I probably should have been working on all through the year. Next finish is Midnight Watch by Blackbird Designs. I finished it this morning, and here's what it looks like. So I pretty much had the whole thing done except for this, all these little doodads right here that's on the border. And that's all I had left to do. I was going to stay up late last night and try to do it, but I was fading fast. So this morning when I got up, I finished it. It took me about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, but I wanted to have it finished so I could show it in today's video. And here it is. So I stitched it on a piece of 40 count Patriots brew with various floss, 1/2. And I will talk about the flosses that I substituted out. But I really love this one. I had a lot of you guys ask me if I knew that there was a quilt pattern, and I did know that, and I have the pattern. One of these days I will save up so I can buy the background fabric, because I believe you need 5 yards of background fabric, and that can get a little pricey. And I haven't decided if I just want to do a solid black background or if I want to do it where it has a little bit of a pattern to it. And until I figure that out and until I save up, it will just stay a pattern that I look at from time to time. But yes, I knew it was a pattern. I bought it last year. So I'm really, really happy that I have this one done. I think I have a frame that I found at the Goodwill. I think it's the right size. I'm hopeful, because when I was there, I think I only had like this chunk done, and there was no way to measure it to figure out, you know, how much or how, you know, big of a frame I would need. It looked like it could possibly work, so I'm hoping that it will. So we'll see. I think I will measure this weekend, and if it is, I'll go ahead and just fully finish it. So I love it so very much. After my last video, I did make the decision to just stitch on it monogamously. There's some counting errors in the house. I think the house is actually 1 stitch over, and the vine is also 1 stitch over. But unless you were like really looking at it, I don't think that you would notice it. I mean, you'd have to have a correct piece sitting next to it before you would notice the mistake that I made. Between the house, the cat, and the moon, that was a ton of stitching. It does not look like it is, but there's a lot of stitches in all 3 of those. So that is definitely where I spent all of my time. Okay, so I did substitute out quite a few colors because I just wanted to stitch from stash. So for the called for Blackbird, I substituted Classic Colorworks Black Coffee. So the moon is supposed to be Classic Colorworks Ginger Snap, but my Ginger Snap was it was brown, and I didn't want my moon to be, I didn't want it to be a brown. It was like a brown beigey color. So I substituted Weeks Dye Works Fawn, and I think it looks pretty good. It's pretty, it's true to the picture, I feel like. The next substitution, the chart calls for Classic Colorworks Pea Pod, and I used Gentle Arts Endive. The next substitution, the chart calls for Gentle Arts Apricot Blush, and I used Classic Colorworks Bamboo. I think it's Bamboo by Classic Colorworks. Then the next one, the chart calls for Gentle Arts Gold Leaf, and I substituted Harvest Moon, which after I had started stitching with the Harvest Moon, I discovered I had Gold Leaf in my stash. But I think it looks great. And I just made sure that what the called for color was, mine matched it. Then the house was supposed to be stitched in Gentle Arts Toasted Barley, but my Toasted Barley was very brown beigey, so I substituted Weeks Dye Works Tin Roof. The next substitution, the chart calls for Weeks Dye Works Bullfrog, and I used Weeks Dye Works Collards. And the last substitution, the chart calls for Weeks Dye Works Sweet Potato, and I used Pumpkin Pie. But I did not write down what brand I use. So down in the description box, I will have everything listed, and I will figure out which one I used. I think it was Classic Colorworks, but I will double check. But it was Pumpkin Pie. And again, I will have all of the correct information listed down below if you're interested. Okay, so because I have finished Midnight Watch way ahead of schedule, I do have 2 brand new starts that I will be doing. The first one I'm going to start tomorrow, and it is Harvest I Grow by Lori Rippey. And I attached the needle minder to the chart. It's not part of the pattern, but I went and I like to kit everything up with a needle minder and a needle when I get ready to start it, so that way it's ready to go. The needle minder came from Mad for Minders. So the chart is Harvest I Grow by Homespun Prims by Lori. You can purchase it as a PDF download. I am excited to start working on this one. I have seen it finished over these past few weeks, and I cannot wait. And I'm really looking forward to starting it. I will be stitching it on a piece of 36 count antique cotton. And I'm hoping that the colors are going to show up. I think that they will, because the called for fabric, or the fabric that the sampler was stitched on, is bee's knees, which looks like this. So I think it'll be okay. I am going to stitch it with the called for DMC. I do have some of the called for over dyed, and then I will be substituting as well. So when I get it done, I will have those substitutions to share. And then on Friday, for Yvette's birthday, which I have known that I was going to start the sampler since January, I knew she was going to stitch it for her birthday. And in January, I asked her if she would be okay with me crashing her birthday start, and she said totally. And it just so happened that the chart was on sale, and so I have been, not for the whole year. I think I had it finally all kitted up at the beginning of summer, but I've known I was going to start this one, and it'll be started next Friday. And that is Elizabeth Furness, 1836 by Hands Across the Sea. And she is a big, beautiful sampler, and I have just been patiently waiting to start this one. I'm going to be stitching it in memory of my paternal great-grandparents, William Frederick Leimbach and Mary Etta Roderick. And I cannot wait. Again, the needle minder, I stuck it on there this morning, so it's all ready to go, but the needle minder also came from Mad for Minders. So I can't wait to start that one. I am going to be stitching it with the DMC. So it's all of these just gorgeous, gorgeous colors. I originally had thought maybe I would do the over dyed, but the DMC, I saw a couple of people stitch it with DMC and it looked so beautiful. So I kitted it. So this one will be in my rotation for a very long time. And I'm stitching it on a giant piece of 40 count Bee's Knees by Seraphim Fabrics. And I need to trim my fabric down a little bit. I haven't done that yet. So I love stitching on seraphim fabrics, linens, and I am just really excited to stitch on this particular piece because I love the color bee's knees, and yeah, I just can't wait to start. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm starting that on Friday with Yvette for her birthday, and I'll be working on it for a very long time. And then I will also be working on Autumn on Lazy Bear Mountain. I didn't bring it. I showed it in my last video. I left it back in the Mocking Basket of Whips, which I only have one. I have Autumn on Lazy Bear Mountain, and then I have Women of the Mayflower. And those are the last two. So I'm really excited that the Mocking Basket's almost empty. But I do plan on pulling Autumn on Lazy Bear Mountain into my rotation as well. So I will have all three of those to show in my next video. So last time I showed some of my previous Halloween finishes, and you guys were so awesome. You told me that you love seeing them again. Some of you guys saw them for the first time, and others you remember seeing them and you enjoyed seeing them pop back up again. So I thought I would show you what is in the trench bowl. So I am still learning how to decorate the trench bowl. I feel like I could probably put a few more smalls in here, but I just don't know how to do it to where it looks not jumbled together, but looks, nice. So I'm learning. I'm looking at pictures, I'm looking on Instagram, and I'm getting like ideas of how I could, work on my trench bowl display. Okay, so we'll start off with this one. It is called Smell My Feet by La Di Da, and it comes out of the Just Cross Stitch Halloween 2008 issue. I stitched it on a piece of a 36 count Havana with DMC 310 and Classic Colorworks Frog Legs, and I stitched it 1/2. The next one is Witch's Night Out by With Thy Needle and Thread. I stitched this on a piece of 36 count antique cotton with all of the called for threads, and I stitched it 1/2. I love it. It's one of my favorites, and it's the only one so far that I actually finished it with trim. I always think about doing that, and I never do. I don't know why, but I like it. So that's something that I probably should invest in. Then this one here, I've gotten a lot of questions about it recently, and for the life of me, I could not remember anything about it except that I had just stitched the boo. I think it says Boo to You or something like that. But it is called Boo to You, and it's a freebie by La Comtesse, or Comtesse. And again, it's a freebie. If I can find it, I will link it. But if you type in Boo to You and then La Comtesse, it should come up. But it was a freebie, and all I stitched was the boo part. Don't know what I stitched it on. I think I might have used espresso. I did stitch it 2/2. I'm thinking it's either a 32 or a 36 count. And then I just finished it into a little pillow using scraps out of my stash. Very cute. This one here, I am not sure what the name of it is. It was made for me for a swap, or I participated in a swap and it was made for me. And I don't remember if the gal who had sent it to me had told me what the name of the chart is. Somebody told me that they're two different charts, but it's really cute and I love it. And then the last one was also stitched for me by Lisa, and I absolutely love it. I think it's a Lizzie Kate pattern, and it is so very cute. And I love it. Love it, love it. So not too much in the trench bowl, and again, I'm never gonna get it back in the way that I had it. There should be like little things in the back that can prop stuff up. So this is what it looks like. And I love having it out. I love seeing it. I love seeing all the little smalls. And I know I need to make a few more, but this year I've sort of been focusing on framed pieces. All right, and once again, I will make sure to put what information I know about the smalls in the trench bowl. I will put it down below in the description box. I did receive a package from the Fat Quarter Shop of items that are available now on their website, and I will put a link to their website down below. The first item is a needle minder called Autumn Love by Lori Holt. So cute. I love this one. I started the Autumn Love quilt when it first came out, and there was a stitch along that you could do. And I got a good bit of the applique blocks done, and then it's been sitting. Bee in My Bonnet Stitch Cards by Lori Holt, set N. These are very cute. The Autumn Love Cross Stitch by Lori Holt. So this is what the quilt will look like. And I believe this is there's a stitch along for this going on now. Frosty Typeface Series by It's So Emma. Very cute. A quilt pattern called Desert Daybreak. Another one called Ivy Fern. Painted Meadow. And these are all by It's So Emma. And a book by It's So Emma called Simply Half Yards. That would definitely be... I've kind of flipped through here, and there's a lot of really cute quilts that you could definitely put together. Just really cool. So thank you so much to the Fat Quarter Shop for sending me those items. And again, I will put a link to the Fat Quarter Shop's website down below. Okay, so in my last video, I did have a giveaway. And I thank everybody who played along. The question I had asked was if you could name a thread color, like an overdyed thread color, what would you name it? And I really loved all of the names you guys came up with. Very creative. My favorite one was one that I had read this morning. I got a little bit behind in reading the comments, but my favorite one was, it was Spider Guts. And it just cracked me up. I just thought that was great. Anyway, but I loved reading through all of the comments, and thank you so much for getting into the spirit of the giveaway questions. It's a lot of fun, and it definitely, when you're reading through it and some of the names, so it'll make you chuckle or make you hungry. That was the other thing. It was making me hungry. Anyway, so the giveaway was for Fall is in the Air. It was for the Stitch Quarterly Club Kit. So it comes with the chart and the kit. So it comes with everything you need to make it. And the winner is Cassie Playford. So congratulations, Cassie. If you can get a hold of me via email and send me your address, I will get this out in the mail to you soon. And again, thank you so much for playing. Today's video also has a giveaway, and there are 5 giveaway prizes up for grabs. So what you will need to do down below is you will need to indicate which items 1 through 5 that you are interested in winning, because that is how I search for them when I pull giveaway winners. Of course, you must make sure that you are a subscriber, like the video, and then answer the question down below. So because we are now in the autumn season, the question that you will need to answer is, if you are going to a harvest party and you are asked to bring a autumn themed dish, what would you take? And I realized reading through all of these comments, it's going to make me really hungry. But if I was invited to an autumn themed party, I would take homemade caramel corn. I haven't made it in a really long time because both kids had braces, and their braces have been off for a couple of years. I don't know why I still haven't made it, but it's the kind where you put it in a paper bag and you put popped popcorn in there, and then you make the caramel topping, and then you pour it over the top of it and you shake it, and then you microwave it a couple of different times, and then you shake it and shake it and shake it. and it coats everything, and then you dump it out onto a baking sheet, and it's delicious. And I don't know why I haven't made it. I should make it this year. But that's what I would take as caramel corn. So let me know down below what dish you would take to a autumn themed harvest party. And in my next video, I will announce the winners. And as always, thank you so very much for playing. Okay, so as far as all of the cross stitching goes, that is all I have to show and share for today's video. I am going to start talking about quilting next. But before my cross-stitching friends go, if you do want to see close-up images of everything I've shown, it'll be at the very end. You can just fast forward. And I'll be back in 2 weeks. And you can always follow me on Instagram and Facebook to see what I am up to. And I will put all that information down below. Or at the end, I will give my spiel at the end. So you just have to fast forward. But now I'm going to start talking about quilts. All right, let's talk about quilts. So in my last video, I did get a lot of questions about Hocus Pocusville. It made its debut in my last video for the year. And thank you for all of your kind comments. I know I probably answered a lot of the questions a little bit earlier on in the video, but I just thought I would really quickly go through it just in case you missed that part. The quilt's name is Hocus Pocusville, and it is by Crabapple Hill Studios. It is still available on her website, and I will put a link to it down below. I don't remember if it's a PDF download or a paper chart. I'm thinking it's a paper chart. It took me about a year to stitch, and I did stitch it on some off-white muslin that I purchased from Joann's. I did stitch it in DMC 310, and I'm not sure if you can see, there's some pumpkins right here, and it's hard to tell in the viewfinder. There might be some right here. But if you can see orange pumpkins, I stitched those in DMC 926, which somebody told me is no longer being made. Basically, it was just orange that I felt, it's like an orange color that's kind of in between these two colors. But I just felt like it looked really, I was going for like 1950s look, color-wise with my quilt. So the fabrics in the quilt are mostly Civil War reproduction fabrics. I did find some Halloween, sort of like vintage looking Halloween fabrics that I also added. So I just kind of mixed the two of them together, and they went really, really well. When it comes to the hand embroidery and quilting the quilt, I did quilt through my hand embroidery because I knew it was going to hang on a wall, and I didn't want it to, sag. So it is quilted with sort of like wispy clouds, basically just enough to tack it down, but I did stitch through the hand embroidery. And I did stitch it with 2 pieces of thread. And I did it in a stem stitch. I believe that's what it's called. I remember one time I asked my grandma, it's the way my grandma taught me, you can do a back stitch, and I did it in a, I believe she said it was a stem stitch. It's basically one continuous line, kind of. I know back stitching is too, but you can see, as you're back stitching, you can see the holes, and this one you can't. So hopefully that answers all of your questions. Again, it's my favorite quilt. I absolutely love it. And I had a lot of you guys say I should leave it up year round. There was one year that I did not have a Thanksgiving quilt and I didn't have a Christmas quilt, and I left it up. So, yeah, I love it. It's one of my favorites. I really love getting it out every year. And in my next video, I will have some Halloween quilts to show. I was going to do it in today's video, but I have some other stuff that I'm going to show. So in my next video, I will show the Halloween quilts that are out in the other room. But yeah, I feel like all of them kind of pale in comparison. And I even did the Salem Witches Quilt Guild, and even that one, I hung it up a couple of years ago instead of this one, and I think I had it up for a week. And I took it down and put this one up. So, but anyway, thank you to everybody for all of your kind comments, and it was a joy to stitch. I worked on it very similar to how I do my cross stitching. So before I started cross stitching, I hand embroidered for those 2 hours every night. So I've basically been doing it since the kids were little, and it's just sort of a habit I've had. So I was doing hand embroidery during those 2 hours, and then now I do cross stitch during those 2 hours in the evenings. So. All right, so I continued working on my Block Bonanza Block of the Month quilt blocks. My last video I showed the one I had done for September, and I was able to go in and finish the remaining 3. So now I am once again caught up. And any day now, I'm sure I will be getting a notification that October's blocks are on their way. The quilt is being made out of Joe Morton's Rose fabric line. And I believe there's only October, November, and December left, and then I'm done. So here is one of the blocks. Absolutely love this fabric line. It's so beautiful. And I had somebody ask me, does Joe Morton's fabric lines play well together? And yes, they do. I mix them all the time. So I cannot wait to get that one finished, and I'm just looking forward to it at the end of the year, because I know once I get that final month's fabrics, I'll just be ready to go and want to get that done. I did have another question about if I would do another block of the month next year, and if so, what is it? I have decided not to do a block of the month next year, and that's only because I have my Civil War tribute quilt that I want to get done. I actually thought I would have it done before now, but because I had done Block Bonanza and just kind of all the other projects, it just kind of keeps getting pushed to the side. So next year will be to work on and finish my Civil War tribute quilt. And then I have 2 other Block of the Month quilts that I have all of the months for that I would like to work on, as well as other ones that I would like to get done. So I have plans, and unless it's something super spectacular, I don't plan on doing a Block of the Month next year. And then I was finally able to sit down and work on my September's Hopes Journeys blocks. And they were this one right here. I'm just going to show it really fast. I mean, I don't think that you could take the measurements and make the quilt blocks. I mean, I wouldn't think you would be able to. Hopefully not. If I'm wrong, I'll probably get in trouble. So this is the first one that I made. So I'm using Joe Morton's Adamstown, but I'm mixing it with other pieces from my stash. So these 2 fabrics right here were from Adamstown, and these 2 were from my stash. And I will have to do that with the rest of the quilt. I'll have to mix other pieces of my stash with it. And then it had you make 2 of these. So they're duplicates, and these were made out of Adamstown's fabrics. So now I have to, because it's October, I have to work on chapter 2, which is the October blocks. And they're going to take me a little bit more time. There's a lot of half square triangles, and it's a lot more fiddly. So I'm looking forward to working on it, and I definitely would like to get it done before November. I also do plan on working on my Windy Pickett's blocks. I think I have 9 or 11. I can't remember how many are left, but I'm hoping to get working on those blocks because I want to get that quilt done. I think it'll be a really nice quilt to hang on that wall over there during November. I did have a finish quilting wise. Now I just have the quilt top done. I did not quilt it on my long arm yet because I'm still working on client quilts. And so once I get the client quilts done, then I will start quilting some of my own stuff. So it is the Scrappy Stars quilt that I have been working on for a while now. I was able to finish it on, I think I started cutting them out on Sunday, and on Monday night, I think I had the whole quilt complete. So here it is. So I did it out of Civil War reproduction fabrics from my stash. There are a few Kim deals in there as well. But it is absolutely beautiful in person. I love it. I can only take credit for all but 3 of the stars. I did an exchange with um, Carol, Yvette, and Christy a couple of years ago. And I know Carol and Yvette have finished their quilts. And I should have asked Christy if she had worked on hers. But I can only take credit for all but 3 of the stars. So I love it. It's so beautiful. I love it. It's basically going to be like a utilitarian quilt where I will just use it as a lap quilt around the house. I haven't decided yet what I am going to quilt on it, but it's going to be something that will allow the stars to shine and not my quilting. So yeah, a lot of fun. I used a quilt pattern. It's from a Facebook group, Kathleen Tracy Quilts, and I will put a link to the Facebook group down below. She did it as a free stitch along, which is why I refer to it as Scrappy Stars, because pretty much the vast majority of the blocks were made from it. I believe I had originally started assembling the blocks from Farm Girl Vintage by Lori Holt, but it was easier to have just one piece of paper in front of me that I could reference when I was cutting out the blocks. Even though as I went, I knew it by heart, but sometimes I would look up just to like double check. So I'm so happy to have it done. Next will be to find some backing for it and then just get it ready for the quilt machine so that way when I do get all my client quilts done, then it'll be ready to go. But I'm so glad that I have it done. Glad I challenged myself to have a row done every time I did a video. It kept me motivated to finish and push me to finish. So next up, I do plan on working on Windy Pickets. And then because there's a Christmas quilt that I have all kitted up, ready to go, and I want to work on that one and get it done in time for Christmas this year. So my friends, as far as everything goes, that brings me to the very end of my video. If you stuck around for this length of time, thank you so very much. I do appreciate it. I hope the video was okay. I definitely was disappointed that I had got a head cold prior to doing this video because there was a lot more that I wanted to show and talk about, but next time I will. So I, of course, plan to be back in 2 weeks. And if you would like to see what I am doing in between my videos, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. Or I do have a Facebook page called Pumpkin Hollow Quilting, and I will put a link to both of those down below. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below, and I'll either answer them directly or answer them in my next video. Again, thank you so very much for stopping by today. I really appreciate it, and I realized that I did not show Freddie. I'll show him in my next video. He's dirty, and he's been playing in the dirt, so I will show him in my next video. But of course, there should have been pictures of him at the beginning of the video because I've been taking 100 million pictures of him. So anyway, I'll show him in my next video. So I hope you guys have a great couple of weeks. And if I have forgotten anything, I will make sure to address it in my next video. So I will see you all again really soon. Bye-bye.